All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Jermell Charlo, Terence Crawford, and what Shawn Porter had to say about that potential fight and the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Let's do that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are going to talk about the 154-pound division in this video. A insight given by Shawn Showtime Porter over who would be the best 154-pounder if and when Terence Crawford goes to the weight class. Now, before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you very much for continuing to support the community. Also, if you are not a member to the channel, a member of the channel, or a subscriber of the channel, let me invite you to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified when we release more videos. We do release videos on a daily basis, and also we have live streams every morning at around 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So really good opportunities to have a very good, unbiased boxing conversation. All right, so let's get into this. Very intriguing fight may take place before too long, and that is a fight between Jermell Charlo and Terence Crawford. Now, Jermell Charlo has a fight coming up in May against Brian Castano in LA, where they will be having a fight for the undisputed 154-pound title. Jermell Charlo holds the WBA, the WBC, and the IBF championship or titles, and Brian Castano holds the WBO title. After that fight takes place, there is a likelihood or a decent possibility that Terence Bud Crawford will be moving to the 154-pound division to position himself to get the winner of that fight. And that, I do believe, is going to be Jermell Charlo. Or, obviously, it could be Brian Castano, but I'm leaning towards Jermell Charlo because I think Jermell Charlo just had a poor fight the last time out, but when he decided to step on the gas in the second half of the fight, he won the second half of the fight all the way out. I think all he needs to do to beat Brian Castano is press the gas a little bit earlier, try to win rounds have your little feel out rounds or what have you, and then try to win the rounds on the scorecard all the way to round 12. He should be able to do that, provided he keeps his back off the ropes and doesn't let Brian Castano, whale off a lot of punches and get easy, easy rounds that, just because of the inactivity of Jermell Charlo. But once that fight is over, Jermell Charlo, if he's the winner, and I'm going to assume for the sake of this conversation that he's the winner, will either have to fight one or two people. He will either have to fight Tim Tszyu, who is the WBO mandatory, who's the mandatory for the WBO title, or if Terence Crawford moves to that weight class because he is the super champion, he will have to fight Terence Crawford. One of the rules that the WBO has is if you are a distinguished champion, and they lay out a number of reasons why what they consider to be a distinguished champion. For example, if you have over 10 title defenses, or if you've become the undisputed champion, or in some way stood out in some major way, you can get a designation called the WBO Super Champion, and that WBO Super Champion status continues on throughout the time that you are a champion with the with the WBO. You will continue to be the WBO Super Champion as long as you're a champion with the WBO once you are given that title as the Super Champion. Now, Shawn Porter, who's a former WBC, he held the WBC and he held the IBF at different times, welterweight champion, a guy that's been in the ring with a lot of really great fighters, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Kell Brook, Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford was asked what he thought about Terence Crawford's chance at 154 against the champions up there, and Shawn Porter said he thinks he can win. He said that he is fully confident that that Bud Crawford's skill set and his strength will transition very smoothly up to 154 pounds. And he said that he also believes that Terence Crawford could be a champion all the way up into the 160-pound division. That, my friends, is something that is a huge statement, because if you think about it, Terence Crawford would be a champion if he was able to do that, would have been a champion at 135, 140, 147, 154, and 160. That is a five weight class division, a 5-weight division champion, and would definitely put him in the category of being, one of the best fighters we've seen this century. I don't think that he's at risk of being considered the best fighter of the century. However, if he gets past Errol Spence Jr. for an undisputed title, he's able to move up and fight Jermell Charlo for an undisputed championship. I don't know of anybody else in boxing that has done that in this, what they like to refer to as the 4-belt era, right? You have guys like Canelo Alvarez, who could have went for undisputed at 160 pounds, and he got 3 belts, but he didn't fight Demetrius Andrade to get that belt at 100, to get the undisputed championship at 160 pounds. He got it at 170. He got it at 168, and he's talking about getting it at 175. Although I think that the politics of that particular matchup is going to prevent that fight from happening, because the guy who most likely is going to be the unified champion in that division is going to be Benavidez. Oh my gosh, man, I'm killing his name. It is Arthur Beterbiev. I was going to say Beterbiev. Arthur Beterbiev, who I do believe right now is a unified champion, and is fighting and is going to fight Joe Smith for the Joe Smith for the WBO belt. So I think he'll be the WBC, IBF, and the WBO. And then Canelo Alvarez is fighting Bivol for the WBA. But in that case, he would be able to do undisputed in 2 weight classes. I just don't think that the fight's going to get made because of the issue with Bob Arum, where Bob Arum says he could foresee the fight with Canelo Alvarez and Beterbiev, but he's not going to do it on DAZN. That fight would have to take place on Top Rank or on ESPN, and I am 100% sure that they are not going to be giving Canelo Alvarez $40 and $50 million guarantees to fight on ESPN. That, I think, is safe to assume is not going to be the case. So I don't see Canelo Alvarez having the opportunity to do that. But if Terence Crawford was able to be undisputed at 147 by beating Errol Spence Jr. and then move up and become undisputed at 154 pounds, man, that would be absolutely huge. Now, as far as what Shawn Porter says about him being able to do it, I'm not so sure, man. I think that he may be very well underestimating Jermell Charlo, and Jermell Charlo's toughness, his aggression, and his speed. And one of the reasons that I find it a little less likely is because Terence Crawford doesn't have the fighting style that a lot of guys do as they move up in weight classes. Let me say, at least a lot of guys who are not on who don't eat suspect street tacos. He's more than likely going to have to move up, and the more that he moves up, the less likely it is, definitely in 154 and 160, that his power is going to carry like that. So he's going to have to outbox them and outscore them. And if you've noticed the fights with Terence Crawford, he's not been outpointing people a lot. He's been knocking people out, but he's been either close on the cards or down on the cards, right? Or had just made up the gap on the card before he knocked him out, as in the case of Shawn Porter. So, I'm not sure, but it's just real interesting to see the confidence and the fact that Shawn Porter, clearly thinks that Terence Crawford is the best guy at welterweight, and thinks that he's the best guy at 154 and could be the best guy at 160. Not that I'm arguing that isn't the case, but I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please, in the comment section, let me know what you think in the comment section. Also, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you know when we release more videos. And with that, I'm out. Peace.